Hey guys, I'm Milo. Welcome to Production and Rewind. Today I'm going to teach you how to create that perfect rainy day vocal sound. Okay, so you can see my screen here. What we have up is a song I recently released, The Story of You, and it's a very moody song with a nice, lovely, creamy, velvety vocal sound. Let's hear what that sounds like.
I told the story of you the other day.
That's what we're going for, that velvety sound. So before we begin, a couple things I want to show you here. First, I don't have any real double tracking going on. I did not record a left vocal and a center vocal and a right vocal. For each song section, there's only one take, and everything you hear is on top of that is just built with effects. And the other thing is, if I start turning off a lot of this stuff here, you're going to be able to hear how I actually sang it. Let me put it in solo.
I told the story of you the other day.
Super soft, super intimate, super vulnerable. You get that by singing really close to the microphone, really low volume, keep it kind of breathy. I'm going to make the center for what we're hearing coming up. So that's where we're starting from. And if you want the perfect rainy day vocals, you're going to want to start from the same place. Now, I have the 3 vocal channels here for verse, chorus, and tag. Now, remember, only one's playing at a time, but the sound isn't staying there. None of the plugins are on those channels themselves. Instead, I put them on buses. The primary buses we're using are Vox Effects left, Vox Effects center, and Vox Effects right. And so it's going to those every time you hear what's going on. So we're going to start with a vocal here, just really dry, and I'll show you right away. I'm going to throw a bit of compression on there. Keep it mild, keep it soft. You want to keep the volume even, but not give it that crunchy, weird, compressed sound. This is that crunchy, weird, compressed sound.
I told the story of you.
You can really hear that compressor working, and it's not good. But here it is, a little bit more subtle.
I told the story of you.
It's working a bit, but it's not too pronounced. Perfect. And with EQ, I'm going to roll off a lot of the bass and low mids and also a bit on the top end. It's going to keep it like crisp and dry and make it sound a little bit vintage.
I told the story of you.
Perfect. Now, this is one side. This is pretty basic. And there's not a whole lot going on there, but it's what we do with stereo effects that makes it really interesting. I'm panning this 41 to the left, and this one's going 63 to the right. Those values are arbitrary. Do whatever you think sounds good in your song. Now, the right channel has the same compressor, the same EQ curve. The only difference is delay here. I'm adding 50-some milliseconds of delay with no extra effects, just to put it late, to put it behind the other. So left comes first and right follows.
I told the story of you.
And we have that stereo interest, and I love it. So that's the core there, but now we're adding this center channel, and this is where things get a little fun. So we're starting off with just a compressor. There's not a lot going on.
I told the story of you.
But then I'm using Nectar by Isotope. I don't care so much about what the preset added for compression and EQ and reverb. You can hear it.
I told the story of you.
There's just a little bit in the background, but what we're really looking for first is the formant. I'm shifting down the formant 3.1 semitones, and it'll make it sound a little bit darker, deeper underwater.
I told the story of you.
Now, if you abuse this, you can make yourself sound like a monster.
I told the story of you.
Or a robo chipmunk.
I told the story of you.
I don't find it musical when you push it so far, but I do like it on subtly, and it's kind of subtle here.
I told the story of you.
It makes it thicker and it adds interest. Then I'm using harmony. I'm adding an octave down, pitch to the left, and an octave up, pitch to the right. Let's hear it with that on.
I told the story of you.
Now you can hear it start to come alive. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Now we're going to run that through little plates, and I don't normally put reverb directly on a channel because that'll make things sound further away. Normally I'll keep it up front and bright, and then I'll go through a send to a different reverb, which will make it sound close but in a big room. But in this case, we're putting it directly on 37% wet, and here's what it sounds like.
I told the story of you.
So that's going to add the sparkle and interest that our left and right are lacking on their own.
I tell the story of you, the authentic.
Now you can hear it starting to come together. There's a couple more things going on. First, I added a clean vocal track just because when I put this out to my mentoring group before releasing, they said, hey, it sounds really good, but I can't understand the vocals. So I added just a little bit of clean vocal. You can see the channel here, only the compressor. It's a little bit lower in the mix, as you can see from this send, just to add a little bit more vocal clarity.
I tell the story of you.
It's a little much right now, but it does add that intelligibility. But here I'm putting the EQ on the bus holding all the vocals in it. I'm cutting out the low mids. I'm cutting out the low mids just a little bit here to keep them from clashing with the guitars and strings and other instruments of the song. And I'm also dipping here a little bit around 4 kilohertz, that intelligibility range. You want to be able to understand the vocals, but you don't want them to be too piercing when you're going for smooth and soft. So here it is with that EQ.
I tell the story of you.
And I like that sound. Now we're going to jump ahead to the chorus, and I'm doing a couple things different in the chorus. One of the things I'm doing differently is I have an extra channel here now sending to a bus called Vox Octave. Now when I do this, let me turn off some of the other ones that we're not going to need to listen to. You'll be able to hear what it sounds like with no effects.
We left and we cried.
Fine. Now I'm going to turn Little Altar Boy on. Little Altar Boy I'm using as even better quality pitch and formant shifter than we found in Nectar, in my opinion. So pitch is all the way up an octave, formant's down a bit.
We left and we cried.
Now the problem here is that it's sitting really close right behind that original vocal, and if we spread it out a little bit in time and in width, it's going to sound better. This EQ just softens the treble a little bit, but this delay here with Echo Boy Jr., we're delaying at 30 milliseconds. That's arbitrary. Find what sounds good for you, and I have it on the wide preset to give it more stereo width.
We left and we cried.
Interesting. Now if we put that in the mix, it just adds a little something to what wasn't there before. Here I'm going to play it with the whole song.
We left and we cried. Now we only sigh.
Nice. Now there's one more thing I'm doing. This isn't so much a vocal effect as I'm almost using like an instrument to fill in. But I'm taking select words here. We laughed and we cried. I'm using the word cried. Now we only sigh. I'm using the word sigh, and I'm sending those out to an extra bus I'm calling Vox Reverb Throws. And the main point of this mostly is to get it heading into a really long delay, almost a 10-second decay using Valhalla Vintage Verb. Let's hear what that sounds like soloed.
We left and we cried.
That just carries on forever. And I'm going to make it more interesting by adding a little distortion with Faturator. I love this little plugin. And some stereo width, some volume shaping to give a little pumping, a little motion to it, and EQ overall to keep it kind of where we want that frequency range to be.
We left and we cried.
And you hear that little fill, that buzzy sound that just carries into that empty space. Let's hear that in the context of the mix.
We left and we cried. Now we only sigh.
So there we go. You know how to construct the rainy day vocal song, rainy day vocal sound. I hope you do so in your songs. If you do, link it in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the comments below too. So thanks guys. If you like this video, if you learned something, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and hope this helps your productions. Until next time.